Hello everyone and welcome back to Half Magic Tarot. Today's pick a card reading is What Will Your Wedding Be Like? There are 4 piles to choose from and I suggest selecting your pile based on the pile marker that sparks a memory in you. So for example, I would choose pile 1, the gardener, because the tree on this card reminded me, I saw like a vision of maybe when I was in like 5th grade in my history teacher's classroom. She had this big poster of like a very old, maybe 150-year-old tree, and I remember staring at that, but looking at this card just like sent me back there. So that's why I would choose this pile. I will put the timestamps in the description down below, so feel free to pause the video now to select your pile and let's get started. If you selected pile 1, the gardener, welcome to your reading. Let's figure out what your wedding will be like. We're starting off with the star. And so immediately what I'm getting is that this is your dream wedding. The star is all about wish fulfillment. So this is kind of like if you made a checklist of what your dream wedding is like you said, I want the venue to be like this, and I want it to have this number of people, and I want this type of flowers, and I want to wear this kind of dress or this kind of suit or something different, or I want to dance to this song. All of those things are being checked off here. And also, with both the star and the devil in your spread as the only major arcana, these both indicate kind of like a wintertime wedding. So this would be from end of December through like end of February range. So for a lot of you, if that's something that you've always dreamed about, having like an early in the year wedding or like a winter wedding, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, then that is going to be in the cards. I can definitely see a lot of you having your wedding during those months. So mostly like January, February. Now, again, this is your dream wedding. For a lot of you, you probably are women, and as you can see in this dress, the woman in this card is wearing a very beautiful, flowing, long white gown. So especially you could be wearing the gown or the dress of your dreams. Again, you don't have to be a woman. You don't have to not wear a dress if you're not a woman. You can wear whatever you want. But either way, I really see you like finding the perfect thing to wear to your wedding. And you feel very like beautiful. I think there's probably a lot of commentary that you're like glowing. You have almost like a halo effect because of how good you look. You look confident, you look happy, and it's beautiful. Now with the Ace of Cups, I think there's a very big emphasis on like vows. So this is not going to be one of those weddings probably where you say your vows to your spouse before the ceremony. I think this is something that you say in front of everyone, but both your vows and your spouse's vows are very well written. They're very emotional. Probably there is a lot of crying, like happy crying from both maybe you and your spouse and the people in the audience. And I'm also getting, this is like an open bar situation. Now, if you're anti like alcohol, if that's not something that you're okay with, then you can disregard that. But I feel like for most people, this is, you've got a nice like open bar at your wedding. There's a lot of drinks flowing, and I think it's making everyone like more heightened emotionally, and it's making it really fun. And I think that's also reiterated with the devil here, because when I see the devil and Ace of Cups together, I'm like, oh, people are getting tipsy. People are having fun. Not that you need to drink to have fun, but I think there is going to be a lot of drinking at this wedding, and I think people are going to get really into it. And also with the devil, I think there's a sense of like lustfulness here. I think maybe like there's other love connections happening at your wedding, like maybe one of your spouse's friends really ends up like hitting it off with your cousin. There's a lot of flirtation, and I think there's a lot of like erotic energy between you and your spouse. It's like one of those couples that you look at and you're like, oh, I know that like they're gonna have the best honeymoon ever because they can't like keep their hands off of each other. There's just a ton of like people can tell that you guys are very sensual with each other. And with the Nine of Wands here, I think this is interesting. This is maybe the caveat to your perfect wedding, because the Nine of Wands here to me says that there's probably little issues. And I don't want you to freak out about that, because the operative word here is little. So this is a minor arcana card. It's not major. This is probably something as small as like, like the makeup artist shows up late, or like one of your family members doesn't get along with another one and they refuse to sit at the same table. It's something like that that's maybe easily remedied. Like maybe you just have to start getting your makeup done 45 minutes later, or you have to switch people at tables. But it feels like there are like a few obstacles that you do end up overcoming, because the Nine of Wands is a card that's about overcoming those obstacles. And so I think it ends up fine, but you might be like stressed out in the moment because you're like, I need everything to run smoothly. And then you're like, oh, I have to fix this real quick. But as I said, with the star at the beginning of your spread, this is your perfect wedding. So I don't even think this is something that you will really remember like, you know, a week later. Like when you think back on your wedding 10 years after, you're not going to think about how your aunt refused to sit with your other aunt because they were arguing about who inherited like their mother's ring in the will or whatever. You're just going to think, wow, everyone had so much fun. Everyone danced all night. It was great. And I'm also I just heard that there's probably a lot of candles on the tables for like centerpieces. There's definitely like romantic mood lighting. And with the Two of Pentacles at the very end here, I think this is kind of a reiteration of what I just said, that there's a lot of dancing. I get the feeling like, everyone's really having fun together. People are drinking, they're getting a little tipsy. They're having fun dancing on the dance floor, most definitely. And I think the other message here is that for a lot of you, even though this is your dream wedding, you managed to be pretty frugal when it came to planning this. So you probably didn't spend as much money as you thought you would, or you managed to save a lot of money in the execution of this wedding. So with the gardener as your pile marker, the first message I'm getting is that probably this has an outdoor venue or an outdoor component. Maybe you get married in a botanical garden. Maybe it's like a butterfly farm. There's a lot of flowers here. There's a lot of nature. And I think that kind of coincides with the Devil card too, where you can see the woman on the card is sitting underneath a tree. She's outside. So I think for a lot of you, this is an outdoor wedding, maybe in a park. Somewhere that is special to you. And the other message that I'm getting from this card is that, like in the guidebook for this, the actual message of the card is supposed to be, the gardener is someone who listens to like feminine cycles. So if you think of a garden, it has different needs at different times in different seasons. So in the winter, obviously, in the northern hemisphere, it's not receiving as much sunlight. In the summer, it probably needs more water because there is a lot of sun and it's evaporating the water. So you have to learn when to pull the weeds, when to give fertilizer, how to help it grow, how to remove any obstacles. And so I think this is indicative of your partner, your spouse, really giving you the reign to make this wedding how you want. I think not that they're uninvolved, but they're mostly interested in pleasing you and making sure that it's like your dream wedding. So they don't really have much to contribute in terms of ideas, but they really do help you execute whatever you want. So if you're like, I really want this particular venue, they're like, okay, let's go book it. If you're like, I want you and all of your the people on your side of the wedding party to wear this color, they're like, okay, let's do it. So they listen to what you're saying. If they're like, I don't want your one friend from college to be there because they're obnoxious, they're like, okay, they're out. What is it? So this person definitely listens to you. And because they listen to you, I think that's why you get your dream wedding, and it's so wonderful. So, but this person, your spouse, will really do anything to make you feel happy. So they just want to see you smile. They want to see you be satisfied by what you've planned, to see it all come together. And that's really important to them. This is a very loving pile and someone who's probably very big on like acts of service. So your spouse is going to do anything in their power to get you what you want for this wedding. Now for your archetype card, we pulled the Bardo. So the Bardo is like the transitional space between death and the next life. So in that space, you kind of let go of the fears and worries and material concerns of being in life. You know, if you're really stressed about finances, if you're stressed about certain relationships, once you've shuffled off this mortal coil, if you will, then obviously those things don't apply anymore. And I want to give an example. My maternal grandmother died maybe like 5 years ago, and I did like communicate with her after she transitioned psychically. So I talked to her and I was like, you know, how are you? Like what is it like now that you're on that other side of life? And she basically said, well, there's no more pain. I don't feel pain anymore. And I feel like I can see the course of my life clearly. And I know that the most important thing is like love, fostering love. And that was really nice to hear because she died from cancer. So she was in a lot of pain like towards the end of her life. But that's like the vibe of this wedding. That's the archetype of this wedding. Not death, but that this is a place for people to kind of let go of those outside concerns and just enjoy being in the moment. It's a very transcendental experience, and I think for a lot of people it's because it's an opportunity to really let loose and just kind of celebrate love and dance and community, and that's really beautiful. I think that's the same ethos of like certain pop stars. Like you think of someone like Robin, like Dancing on My Own, which is, you know, a song about being alone, like having experienced a breakup, but there's a transcendence in it because it's like I can still feel better when I lose myself to the dance floor, to community, when I give myself over to just feeling and being in my body. And I think that's really the vibe of the wedding. I think everyone really has a great time here at this wedding. And it's like, you know, when you go out with your friends, maybe to like a bar or something, and then you have a few drinks, and at the end of the night, you're like, oh, I love you all so much. You're the best. Like, I really do love all of you. I'm so happy that you're in my life. That's the feeling. Like, everyone gets very sappy by the end of the night at this wedding. And with your Romance Angels card, we got Forgiving and Learning, which says, as you release and heal the past, you experience more love in your present moments, which to me goes exactly with that Bardo card. This is people, you know, releasing the things that they're stressed about, the things that they're worried about, the beefs that they might have with like other people that are attending the wedding, their stresses, and they just let go and they have fun with other people and they feel all the love in the room, and it's a really positive experience. I think the thing that you will remember most from your wedding is just how much like love was in the air and how much fun everyone had, which is really beautiful. This is very positive. So congratulations to you, my pile ones. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care. If you selected pile 2, Abundance, welcome to your reading. Let's figure out what your wedding is going to be like. So we're starting off your spread with the Ace of Pentacles, and immediately what I'm getting is that you and your future spouse are not going to be afraid to ball out for this wedding. You're going to spend money, you're going to make it your dream situation. Definitely, it's well decorated. You probably hire a professional to help you plan this. You have great decorations, you choose an expensive venue. You're not really sparing costs for this. Because either you or your future spouse have it like that, or you just think, this is important to me and I'm willing to invest into it. And with the Three of Wands next in your spread, I think for most of you, this is a destination wedding. So this is something that you are traveling for. In particular, I'm getting that a lot of you could go to like a tropical vacation, like you could get married on a beach or at a resort in a coastal town. And then for a select few of you, I'm even getting like mountain areas. So maybe on top of a mountain, maybe of like a famous mountain in another country or another state where there's a really beautiful view at a certain time and you want to get married there against that backdrop of that view. But I definitely do see you traveling, which is probably what is adding to the expenses here. So maybe you're going to another country that costs a lot of money to do. And in addition to that, you have to hire someone to coordinate like back and forth to that country to help set up your wedding. And maybe you're also paying for the people that are really important to you to be able to go because you want maybe people who otherwise can afford to attend. So you buy their plane ticket or their hotel room or whatever it is. And with the Four of Pentacles here, this is almost a reiteration of that because the Four of Pentacles indicates someone who is very interested in like the material aspects. So you want to make sure it's good. You want to make sure that the resort you're staying at is nice, it's beautiful. You want to have the best food. Like you're not gonna serve a potluck. You're like everyone's getting lobster or steak or chicken or vegetarian or whatever, and you're really no expenses spared because you really want it to just be a wonderful, beautiful, like every detail is perfect. Another message that I'm getting from this is that it might actually not be that large of a wedding. So you might not really invite that many people, and maybe it's because you are going to another place, another country. You're like, I'm not going to invite 300 people to come to like Bermuda, I'm going to invite the most important people. So it could be like a pretty small wedding or small wedding party. Like maybe you have like 20 people or less, just the people that are closest to you, but that makes it a lot more intimate. And the last two cards here, we have the Knight of Wands and the Seven of Swords in reverse. So I'm getting two messages from here. So the very first one is that the Knight of Wands, this is someone who is very adventurous, who's very quick moving. So again, this really indicates to me this idea of a destination wedding, of traveling to go somewhere. And I also think that this is something that you could have planned with your future spouse pretty quickly. Like maybe you have not been engaged that long. Maybe you haven't even been dating that long when you decide to get married and you go do this. And with the Seven of Swords in reverse here, a lot of the times the Seven of Swords upright, I see as someone kind of like sneaking away without telling anyone. And so in reverse, it's this like return to community. Like maybe you're still sneaking away, but you're bringing people with you, which makes sense to me for this destination wedding. Because as I said, I think you're bringing the most important people in your life with you. So your closest family members, your closest friends are all going to be present, but otherwise it's going to be really small and intimate at this really beautiful like destination. So now the second message that I'm getting from these two cards is that you have an ex that is still very hung up on you. So they are being represented by this Knight of Wands. So they could be a Sagittarius or have a prominent Sagittarius placement in their natal chart. That's their sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, or Venus sign. But that doesn't have to apply. It's a general reading, so it's not going to take hold for everyone. But generally they do embody this Knight of Wands energy, which is maybe someone who, like, when you were dating them, they came on really strong initially. Like, there was a lot of initial attraction or chemistry, but they're also flighty. Like, you can't rely on them. You don't think that they're serious. And with them being a knight here, this is not like a king, this is someone who is still very immature. But I think once they hear that you are getting married or doing this wedding, especially because, like I said, I get the feeling that this is not something that maybe you announce like well ahead of time. It seems like, almost a little spontaneous that you decided, let's go to, Mexico and get married on the beach or whatever. So I think your ex hears about this and they do try to like stop you, basically. I don't know that they'll show up to the location, but it does feel like they at least reach out and they're like, it should be me, basically. But you are very clear, I think, with this person that you have no interest in them. You've outgrown them. And I think that's reflected in the archetype card we pulled here, which is the crone. So if you know anything about like triple goddess, that's maiden, mother, crone. So maiden's like youth, mother is coming into maturity, and crone is like an elder. This is someone who has been through a lot, who has seen a lot, and has become very wise. So I think the equivalent of the crone would, like in tarot, would be like a king, okay? Because that person has a lot of experience, they've learned a lot, they've grown. Whereas the knight, this person is still immature. This person has not reached the same level or the same wisdom about relationships that you have, which is why you're now incompatible with this person. So you have moved past them. You don't even see them as an option anymore. There's nothing in you that is like, we would make a good couple. It just feels like this ex kind of maybe romanticizes your relationship, probably because it's very easy for them to come up with feelings of passion, but it's not easy for them to sustain them. And so this ex probably is one of those people that always wants what they don't currently have. And because they don't currently have you, because they hear that you're going to go get married, I think they do try to come back and kind of like interrupt or say something. And that's being reflected with this Seven of Swords reversed, because Seven of Swords is someone trying to like come back and kind of make a confession to you. So I do think this is your ex trying to come back and be like, I'm sorry about how I acted before, but I really think that we should be together. And you being like, no, why would you do this? I'm literally about to go get married. So that's overall the message from the tarot cards. Now with your pile marker, we got abundance, and as you can see, there's a lot of riches in this pile. Like I said, I don't think that there's any cost spared at this wedding. You really go all out in making sure that it's beautiful. Lots of like roses, lots of centerpieces on the tables, lots of decorations. And I think that you probably have like a really beautiful gown if you're going to wear a gown, or your spouse is going to wear a gown, whatever. The dress code for this is really good, and I think not just for the wedding, but like what you wear around the destination, because it's like you're also kind of going on vacation since you're traveling for this. So you have really wonderful like clothing that you're going to wear almost like this whole week of your wedding. And another message that I'm getting, I just got, is that you could have your wedding like kind of when it's darker outside. So maybe like in the evening, when the sun's like about to set. Yeah, which I think is normal. That's like most people do have theirs in the evening time, but it does feel like maybe because you're traveling, maybe you do get married on a beach, and so you're like on the beach underneath the stars, like partying after. So that's a message. And then, as I said, for your archetype card, we pulled the crone. I think this may also speak to your actual relationship. So maybe the person that you're getting married to is older than you, or they're just more experienced than you when it comes to romantic relationships. but generally I think this is like a very level-headed wedding. Like, I think if you say your vows in front of other people, the vows are very much like emotionally mature, very much like I've learned a lot from being with you, very like encouraging of each other, very like non-judgmental. Very, I see you for who you are. I accept all of the bad things that have happened to you. I accept the people from your past because they've made you who you are today. And with your Romance Angels card, we got release your ex. The time has come to clear your energy. So like I said, I do think for a lot of you, your ex does try to interrupt this. So this is you kind of telling them like, no, it's not going to happen. Sorry. And so your wedding is what prompts you to like officially kind of release them from your life. Not that you were holding on, but that they maybe were holding on to you. And so they get the message. And then also with it being time to clear your energy, I think that's maybe one of the reasons why you decide to do a destination wedding is because you want a change of scenery. You want to go somewhere that feels like untethered by your own like experiences to the location. You want to go somewhere where it's like a fresh start, which is very symbolic for you and your spouse, which is cute. So congratulations to you, my Pile 2s. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care. If you selected Pile 3, the Divine Masculine, welcome to your reading. Let's figure out what your wedding will be like. So we're starting off your spread here with this 3 of Pentacles. And immediately what I'm getting from this pile, I think a lot of you are getting married quite young, like probably in your 20s, maybe even in your early 20s. If you've already, past that age, that's fine. It doesn't have to, resonate the same for everyone. But I get the feeling that this is kind of like a pile that does get married young. And with the 3 of Pentacles here, it feels like because you are young, or if you're not that young, because you're maybe more like unestablished in your career, it feels like this is not like a very wealthy pile, which is fine. No, not everyone gets to be like a millionaire or make 6 figures or whatever, but this really feels like because you and your future spouse are not like overly financially wealthy, this is a wedding that is being planned by the 2 of you. So this is something, you're not hiring a wedding planner. This is something that you are coordinating on your own, which I think is how most people do it now. But this is something that you're planning by yourself, and I feel like there's a lot of community involvement in this. So for example, maybe you ask everyone to like bring potluck dishes for the reception dinner after. Or maybe someone has 200 chairs that they say they can set up like in their backyard for you to get married in. Or someone offers to put together all of the little goodie bags that you're going to put on each of the dining tables. So there is a lot of assistance here for all of you. And I'm also getting another message that for a lot of you, you could end up having someone who is maybe like a professional painter at this wedding. I've seen some other weddings where people do that. They hire someone to paint like the vow ceremony, the actual wedding, while it's happening. And so they have this beautiful portrait to take home. So for a lot of you, maybe you do end up doing that specifically. And so you end up with a painting of you and your future spouse getting married. But I'm also getting, for some of you, there might be like some kind of musical aspect involved. So maybe you or your future spouse is a musician or a very musical person, and you wrote a song for each other and you end up performing that. Or there's like a little performance aspect of this anyway, which is cute. This pile reminds me a lot of my brother's wedding, who his wife is very musical. Like she can play a ton of instruments, and she ended up singing this song that I think she wrote for him, which was really cute. So that's kind of the vibe of this, but I do think there's a lot of like planning and hard work and community involvement that goes into making this wedding happen. And with the Eight of Cups, especially if there is like a woman in this relationship, if you're a woman, if your spouse is a woman, or if one of you is just femme and wants to wear a dress, I do see one of you wearing like a long, beautiful flowing dress, or having your hair very long and flowing like the person in this card. I get the feeling that this is like a very traditional kind of wedding. This is very like by the book, and so probably someone is wearing a very long flowing white dress. But the other message that I'm getting from this card is the Eight of Cups is a card about transition. It's about leaving something behind to go into this new world, this new life, this new journey. And so to me, this really feels like the emphasis of maybe like the vows or the ceremony is really on the commitment of leaving behind the dating life, the single life, and going into this new realm of like matrimonial peace or partnership with your person. So that could be something that's really reiterated in the vows. And I'm getting that for some of you, you and your future spouse have like been through a lot. Not necessarily that your relationship has been like up and down or toxic, but maybe you have experienced hardships separately that you helped each other through. Like, for example, maybe one of you has a parent that got really sick, or one of you ended up having to like adopt your niece or nephew or something like that, and the other person helped you through it. So this person has seen you through hardships, or they have seen you through hardships, vice versa. But for some of you, I'm also getting the feeling that you and this person could have previously like broken up or taken a break. And I want to reiterate here that I'm by no means suggesting that, you know, if you ended up breaking up with someone because they were like toxic or abusive, that you should get back together with this person and marry them. That's not what I'm saying. But there are other reasons why people might break up. Like, for example, maybe, as I said, this feels like quite a young pile. Maybe you two were high school sweethearts, and then you both went to separate colleges, and you decided to break up because you didn't want to do long distance. And now you've both graduated, you moved back home, you reconnected, and that's why you're back together. It's that kind of vibe. So again, this could be someone from your past, but generally I'm feeling that this is a very like sentimental in terms of vows, and also very traditional in terms of like dress. And with the Hierophant in the middle of your spread here, I think that there is definitely like a religious aspect to this pile. So if you are religious, if you were raised religious, if you have family members that are very religious and you just want to appease them, it feels like there is a religious aspect to the ceremony. So for example, maybe it takes place in a church, in a synagogue, at a mosque, or you have like a preacher actually marry you. There's, you know, language that involves religion, there's prayer, whatever it is. So there is that like religious aspect, and it feels like because of that, that's one of the reasons why I think this is also like a very traditional wedding where you know, you're in this religious institution, you have the actual wedding, and then the reception after maybe also takes place in that same building, but the planning of it, like the food and the chairs and any of the party favors, that's all being planned by like people within your community. So maybe people that go to that same you know, church, synagogue, mosque, whatever, or people that you're friends and family with. So it all kind of comes together with the assistance of other people. And again, I do think there's that like religious quality here. And with the Hangman, I do think it's quite a long ceremony. There's a lot of talking here, which I think is kind of normal for, again, like very traditional weddings, or weddings that are taking place in like religious settings or that have a religious bent. Like I know my brother's wedding, this reminds me so much of my brother's wedding. He is very Christian, despite us not being raised that way, but I digress. He's very Christian, and so his wedding took place in a church, and it was very long. Like there was, speeches from the pastors and from everyone in there, lots of saying their vows, and so it was definitely a long wedding. So I think there is a lot of talking going on here. But also I think in the vows, in the speeches, in the sermons, in the prayers, whatever it is, there's a lot of emphasis on having been able to overcome hardships together or to get through hardships together. As I said with that Eight of Cups, I feel like you and this person have been through some things. And I feel like there's also emphasis that is what will make the marriage strong, is that you two are willing to stick by each other through thick and thin and willing to go through like periods of discomfort for like the betterment of both of you. So I think that's also reflected in the last card here, this Five of Pentacles, which is a card that's usually about like lack. It's about especially like financial instability, but as you can see on the card, these two people, despite being out in the cold, not having anything in their name, they have each other. And so this, to me, a lot of the times in like love readings, I see this as people who are really like, they love each other almost unconditionally. Like we could be flat broke and I'll still want to be with you. I'll still stick by your side. So again, this is someone that you have probably overcome a lot of hardships with. This is something that is really emphasized in the vows and the speeches. And I'm also getting the separate message here that, like I said, I don't think that this is a particularly wealthy pile. I don't think this is a particularly wealthy couple. So I think, when you come together, you're not like super rich. You're doing this out of love, basically. So that's sweet, though. And then with your pile marker, we got the Divine Masculine. So this is, a very masculine wedding. I do think of religion, like organized religion, as being very masculine. So that kind of goes hand in hand with that. This is also a very traditional wedding, kind of following the quote unquote rules that you think weddings are supposed to have. So like white dress, people in suits, everything's very like by the book. And so I think this is like your very typical wedding. And another message that I'm getting from this is kind of a reiteration of that idea that there might be some kind of like creative display or aspect of it. Like I said, having the live painter or having some kind of like performance, someone performs a song, someone sings, because the Divine Masculine is someone who's not trying to like smother or put out the like divine feminine creative impulse or instinct, and instead they use that femininity to channel like into action. So Divine Masculine is very action oriented. So they're using that flow of creativity to actually create something tangible. And so that's why I think of like paintings or actual songs, performances, because those are tangible things that you can share with other people. So another separate message I'm getting from this is that you could do like the releasing of doves, if you ever heard of people doing that at weddings. So that could be a potential thing that is involved. I also think that this wedding could take place in like late winter, early spring months. So like March, April, May, that time frame. But that's just a message for a few of you. Obviously, everyone's going to be different, but that could be a confirmation if you're watching this and maybe you're already engaged and you know when you're going to get married, that this pile is definitely for you. So for your archetype card, we got the Threshold. And to me, that is really a reiteration of the Eight of Cups, because the threshold is really like taking a step forward and leaving behind one kind of like for another, entering this new realm. So you are entering your new married life with this person. It's a card that's about transition. And so I think really there's a lot of emphasis in the vows and the talking here that you are entering a new phase. You are ascending to a higher level of commitment with your person, and you are going to leave behind like the strife or the hardships that you've had to overcome in the past, or you're leaving behind like the pain from being separated if this is someone that you have broken up with. So it's really interesting. And I think also, if this is a young pile, this is someone who is getting married very young, then it's like, here's, the threshold into the rest of your life, basically. Like you've accomplished this thing, this wedding, where now you are in your marriage partnership. And so now it's like you had basically your childhood, your very young adulthood, and now you're entering into this new phase of your life. And with your Romance Angels card, we got reconciliation, which says someone from your past is returning to your life. So again, for a lot of you, this could be someone that you have previously broken up with. And this is like, obviously you've reconciled before this, you got back together before you got married, but this is like the true reconciliation, you two truly committing to each other and saying that you won't leave each other again. But I also think that this can be like a symbolic reconciliation. It's saying that, regardless of whether or not might happen or what forces might try to tear us apart, we will still find our way back to each other. So again, this is a very talk heavy. This is very traditional, very long vows, very long speeches, a lot of emphasis on sticking together through thick and thin. Could be like a religious ceremony. So this one's pretty straightforward. But I think you'll know if this is yours. So congratulations to you, my pile threes. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care. If you selected pile 4, Inner Peace, welcome to your reading. Let's figure out what your wedding will be like. We're starting off your spread with this Knight of Pentacles. And immediately I'm sensing that this represents your future spouse. So this person could be a Virgo or have a prominent Virgo placement in their natal chart, but generally they have that kind of Virgo energy, which is someone who is typically very intelligent, very hardworking, very patient, reliable. And I think these are qualities that you have really been missing in all of your romantic partners up to this point. I'm really feeling from this pile that this is a group that gets married later than what is typical for people. So I think most people end up getting married probably I guess it depends on where you live. Where I live, because I'm currently in the southern United States, most people get married in their early 20s, which seems very early to me. But maybe you get married in your mid-30s, or maybe you get married in your 40s. So you feel a little older, a little more mature, and it feels like you've maybe had suitors, but none of them are really have long-term potential to you until you meet this person, your future spouse, who comes at you very patiently. They're kind of giving knight in shining armor energy. And you're coming through in the next card in the spread here, this Queen of Cups. So you could be a Cancer or have a prominent Cancer placement in your natal chart, your sun sign, moon sign, rising sign, Venus. Again, that doesn't have to apply to everyone, but you are probably embodying this Queen of Cups energy, who is someone that's very emotionally intelligent and can be very nurturing. But I think also as you've gotten older, you're more discerning about who you give that nurturing energy to, who you dedicate your time to. And I think that's something that was very important for you to learn. And so when this person comes along and they're matching your energy, and they're also very devoted and reliable and willing to be there for you, I think that's when you realize this is your person. This is the person you want to marry. And you'll notice I haven't said anything specifically about your wedding yet, because this pile really gives like very short wedding. This I think is like a courthouse wedding pile. This feels very like simplistic, and I think the real focus is on your emotions for your partner and maybe like what you do the rest of the day of the wedding. So I'll get more into that. We have in the middle of your spread here this Empress in reverse. And to me, I'm getting two messages from this card. So the first one is the Empress upright is all about kind of beauty and glamour and frills. And so in reverse, this to me says this is a very simplistic wedding. This is not something that a lot of planning has gone into, which is why, again, I'm really getting the feeling that this is a courthouse situation. Like you and your spouse show up in front of a judge to get those papers signed. You have one witness, and that's it. There's not, a ton of planning that goes into it. There's not a huge ceremony. It's just like this private little thing for you two, basically, which is not to say that it's unspecial, because again, I think the focus here is really on your feelings for each other. It's just the ceremony itself is really short. And the second message that I'm getting from this is, if you look at these last three cards, we have the Empress reversed into the Six of Swords into the Lovers. And so the Six of Swords is a card that's all about mental transitions. It's about leaving something that is no longer serving you mentally behind and transitioning into something that's better for you. So in this order, you're leaving behind the Empress reversed, which can be this feeling of not being enough, basically, not being beautiful enough, not being attractive enough, not attracting the love you want, into this beautiful lover's energy of feeling like you've found your soulmate, you found the person you're supposed to be with. And so, I think during your wedding, during the ceremony, there might be some words exchanged about how you really thought that you maybe were going to be alone forever. You didn't think that you were going to find someone who would match you or like be your person, and now you feel like you've really found that person. And so again, it's a really big emphasis on feelings during this wedding, but the actual wedding itself is pretty small or like insignificant. So, and also, as I said, we have the Six of Swords card next. So I think for a lot of you, after this actual ceremony, you could take a small trip. So maybe you decide to go up to like another state or another city or another country to have a quick little like weekend getaway after your courthouse wedding. For some of you, I'm getting that you're literally getting on like a ship, like a yacht or something. Maybe you go on a cruise. After this wedding, you've already had it planned. You go to the courthouse in the morning, and then you go and board your ship at like 11 a.m. or something. And then you go and sail. And with the Lovers at the very end here, this is, again, just a reiteration that this wedding is not about the external circumstances. It's all about your feelings toward each other. It's all about you celebrating your love to each other, feeling like you are equally matched. You finally found your person. It just feels right to you. And another message I'm getting from this is that for a lot of you, this wedding could take place specifically like at the very end of April through most of July. So late April, May, June, most of July. That's like the time frame I'm getting. So probably for most of you, your wedding will take place during those months. Now with the pile marker that you selected, this says inner peace, and it says you are enough above this woman sitting down. So to me, this really reiterates that thing of you probably felt like you weren't going to find your person. You weren't going to find someone who was enough for you, who you were attracted to, who they were attracted to you. You felt like maybe, even though you had all these amazing qualities, it wasn't going to be enough for someone to come in and match it. And the person you marry really proves you wrong. And I'm also getting some other messages from this card. The first is that I do think that there are flowers here. I kind of feel like your spouse gets like a bouquet from like a florist or like a grocery store or something before you go to this courthouse. So there is like a bouquet of flowers that's being held as you're getting married. I also think that both of you are dressed like kind of semi-casually, like, I don't think anyone's wearing like a full wedding dress gown. I don't think anyone's wearing a full tux, but maybe someone's wearing like a button-down shirt and slacks, and someone's wearing like a cute little dress that you might also wear to like a cocktail party or something. So, maybe elevated dress, but not like wedding attire, just because it is so casual. And I also think that for a lot of you, like after you actually get married, you end up kind of going out to celebrate, but it's again very cash. I could see you going to like your favorite restaurant or your favorite cafe and going and getting like coffees and sandwiches or pastries and eating those after you just got married, before maybe you go on this trip that you had planned, this little vacation, this little honeymoon. So very simple, very sweet, but it's kind of like ideal day. Like you get up, you go get married, you go have food with the love of your life, and then you plan for your like weekend getaway. So yeah, very simple, but very loving. And with the archetype card you selected being the animal, this is all about how technically we as humans are animals. And I think humans are like one of the only species, maybe the only species, that puts so much pressure on ourselves to like achieve or be perfect instead of just existing as we are, existing within our bodies, letting ourselves feel and tap into that kind of like animalistic being, tapping into our senses, our sensuality. And so I think this is kind of a reiteration that, one, you are enough as you are, which is what is also said on the pile marker that you selected. And I think what's coming through in these cards, that yes, you do have a person coming in for you. Probably a lot of the people that are watching this pile are currently single, so you're like, well, who the hell am I going to marry? So yes, you do have someone who is just going to like you for you. You don't have to change things about yourself to be worthy of this person's love. This person is going to love you because you are you. But also, I think this speaks to, the sensuality of this, which is, even though you are not having an extravagant wedding, this is a day that just feels so good to you, the day you get married. Like you have a meal you really love, you're sharing all these loving feelings with your person, probably the sun is shining down on you, it feels so good on your skin, you're wearing clothing that you really like, I think all the little things, all the little experiences of being in your body this day are just perfect. It's just like a scrumptious little day. And with your romance angels card, we got engagement, which says your love life is ascending to a higher level of commitment. So yeah, this, I think you and your person are already so devoted to each other. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why you decide we don't really need a big wedding, because it feels like we're already fully locked in. We're just going to do this like for ourselves, for like legal purposes almost. So it's like now we're like, we're tied to each other legally. It's the next step up. But you've been tied to each other heart-wise for quite some time. By the time you get into the courthouse, by the time you get married, which is really cute. So very simple, but very loving. This is a very sweet pile. And it seems like you just have a great day, even though it would seem very simple to like maybe an outsider, but it's cute. So congratulations to you, my pile fours. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.